for coming. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. 5:04, it looks like, on my watch. Might be a little off. So we can go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Commissioners Fahey.
Here.
Hearns. Latanzi.
Here.
Wiley.
Here.
Vice Chair Fluke.
Here.
Chairman Derryberry.
That's me.
We have a quorum.
All right. Anyone want to offer to do the invocation tonight?
I don't have a problem doing it.
How many times have you done it, Mr. Wiley?
I've done it once.
Just once. We had to do it twice only, correct? Okay, perfect. Floor is yours.
Okay, please bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you this afternoon as we gather together to do your business, Father God, and we ask that you be with us, with our hearts and our minds, Father God, that we make wise and sturdy decisions that will bring you honor and glory. We thank you that you've given us this opportunity to serve you and this city of Lancaster. So we thank you, Father God, for this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If everyone could stay standing and face the flag, repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we don't have any specific presentations tonight. No items to be removed, it appears. So we'll. Do we have any public business from the floor? Nope. All right. So then moving on to our consent calendar items. Since we didn't have a quorum last month in July, we were unable to approve the minutes for June. So obviously now we have the minutes for June and July for review. So I'll entertain a motion to accept both of them. If there are no objections, if we have any issues that need to be revised, we can discuss that now. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes of the May, is it?
June and July.
Of the June and July meetings as written with no changes.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Fahey, a second by Commissioner Latanzi. All those in favor? And drum roll, please. Vote carries. Okay, so now we can go ahead and move into our presentations tonight. First up, we have our effectiveness of drug campaigns, public service announcements, brochures, pamphlets. As we know, we've gathered a lot of information. We've spoken to a lot of the community partners and players, and I think we're all kind of wondering where do we go next and what does it look like, what sort of efforts have in our community taken in the past, and what sort of results have we had. And so Ms. Brubaker was nice enough to put together a presentation for us. So
thank you. Good afternoon. Drug prevention programs are an incredibly important part of drug treatment because drug addiction is a powerful and harmful disease. Millions of dollars a year are spent on drug education and prevention programs. Initiatives and organizations across the country are united in this goal, and yet addiction continues to spread. This raises the question, if all of these addiction programs are in place, how effective can they really be if they're not effectively stemming the tide of this epidemic? Do they even do the job they're put in place to do? Scientific American wrote an article on some of the most famous campaigns that just don't work. Why Just Say No doesn't work. In 1982, First Lady Nancy Reagan uttered these words in response to a schoolgirl who wanted to know what she should say if someone offered her drugs. The First Lady's suggestion soon became the clarion call for the adolescent drug prevention movement in the 1980s and beyond. Since then, schools around the country have instituted programs designed to discourage alcohol and drug use among youth, most of them targeting older elementary school children and a few addressing adults. In an attempt to reduce these figures, Substance abuse prevention programs often educate pupils regarding the perils of drug abuse, teach students social skills to resist peer pressure to experiment, and help young people feel that saying no is socially acceptable. All the approaches seem sensible on the surface, so policymakers, teachers, and parents typically assume they work. Why DARE doesn't work? The most widely publicized teen substance abuse prevention program is drug resistance education, DARE. Created in 1983 by the Los Angeles Police Department, uniformed police officers go into schools to warn students about the dangers of drug use and underscore the pluses of a drug-free way of life. In most cases, the officers do so once a week, typically for 45 to 60 minutes for several months. DARE has been in place in 75% of the U.S. school districts and 43 countries. Despite the fanfare, data indicates that the program does little or nothing to combat substance use in youth. A meta-analysis, a mathematical review, in 2009 of 20 controlled studies by statisticians Wei Pan, then at the University of Cincinnati, and Ian Bay of the University of Central Florida, revealed that teens enrolled in the program were just as likely to use drugs as those who did not receive any intervention. Research shows that the most popular prevention programs have been established to be effective and may even heighten the use of some substances among teens. These approaches do not involve social interaction, and those that do work better than the ones emphasizing education. Where does drug prevention go from here? Prevention is always going to be the most effective way to stop addiction. More programs are adapting evidence-based approaches and accepting the reality that preaching abstinence without context is ineffective. Prevention programs are taking more nuanced, realistic approaches to prevention, acknowledging the effects of temptation and curiosity. They're still trying to reinforce anti-drug attitudes, but through informative and cognitive ways that encourage rational decision-making skills. This has allowed many prevention programs to address something that was previously neglected: preventing experimental drug use from becoming regular or habitual. After all, not all drug use becomes addiction. If people can recognize the warning signs of a substance becoming a problem, they are more likely to stop before it takes complete control of them. This is a huge change from the culture of fear and shame that surrounded previous anti-drug programs. The next step forward is simply to stay on course. Beating drug addiction is a long-term battle on every front. Just as addicts can't bear their vices overnight, prevention isn't as simple as just showing up once and telling people just to say no. It takes time, patience, and consistency. The National Institute on Drug Abuse, founded in 1974, a United States federal government research institute whose mission is to lead the nation in bringing the power of science to bear on drug abuse and addiction, did a study on lessons from prevention research. One of NIDA's most important achievements has been the use of science to clarify central concepts in the field of drug abuse. When NIDA began, correct approaches to drug policy and drug treatment were often thought to hinge on determining whether a particular drug was physically addicting or only psychologically addicting. We now know that addiction has biological, behavioral, and social components. It is best defined as a chronic, relapsing brain disorder characterized by compulsive, often uncontrolling drug craving, seeking, and use, even in the face of negative health and social consequences. NIDA-supported research has also shown that this compulsion results from specific drug effects in the brain. This definition opens the way for broad strategies and common approaches to all drug addiction. I have provided you with a booklet from NIDA, Preventing Drug Use Among Children and Adolescents. a research-based guide for parents, educators, and community leaders. The principles listed in the booklet are the result of long-term research studies in the origins of drug abuse behavior and the common elements of effective prevention programs. These principles were developed to help prevention practitioners use the results of prevention research to address drug use among children, adolescents, and young adults in communities across the country. Parents, educators, and community leaders can use these principles to help guide their thinking, planning, selection, and delivery of drug abuse prevention programs at the community level. Prevention programs are generally designed for use in a particular setting, such as at home, at school, or within the community, but can be adapted for use in several settings. In addition, programs are also designed with the intended audience in mind, for everyone in the population, for those at greater risk, and for those already involved with drugs or other problem behaviors. Some programs can be geared for more than one audience. Following are some of the principles applicable for community prevention programs. Prevention programs should address the type of drug abuse problem in the local community, target modifiable risk factors, and strengthen identified protective factors. Community prevention programs that combine two or more effective programs, such as family-based and school-based programs, can be more effective than a single program alone. Community prevention programs reaching populations in multiple settings, for example, schools, clubs, faith-based organizations, and the media, are most effective when they present consistent, community-wide messages in each setting. Where does drug prevention go from here for the Lancaster Healthy Commission? In the booklet, Chapter 2, Planning for Drug Abuse Prevention in the Community, presents a process to help communities as they plan to implement research-based prevention programs. It provides guidance on applying the prevention principles, assessing needs and community readiness, motivating the community to take action, and evaluating the impact of the programs implemented. Prevention research suggests that a well-constructed community plan incorporates the following characteristics: identifies the specific drugs and other child and adolescent problems in a community, builds on existing resources, current drug abuse prevention programs, develops short-term goals relevant to implementation of research-based prevention programs, projects long-term objectives so that plans and resources are available for the future, and incorporates ongoing assessment to evaluate the effectiveness of evaluation of prevention strategies. Planning usually starts with an assessment of drug abuse and other child and adolescent problems, which includes measuring the level of substance abuse in the community, as well as examining the level of other community risk factors, such as poverty. Next, an assessment of the community's readiness for prevention can help determine additional steps that are needed to educate the community before beginning the prevention effort. Then a review of existing programs is needed to determine gaps in addressing community needs and identifying additional resources. Finally, community planning can benefit from contributions of community organizations that provide services. Planning for implementation and sustainability requires resource development for staffing and management, long-term funding commitments, and linkages with existing delivery systems. Assessing prevention efforts can be challenging for a community given limited resources and limited access to expertise in program evaluation. So, the process with structured review of current prevention programs determined what programs are currently in place in the community, what strict scientific standards used. I'll skip that. So let me get to this. Communities may wish to consult with the state and county prevention authorities for assistance to planning and implementation efforts. Also, federally supported publications and other resources are available as noted in the selected resources and references. The Commission should first select the audience that they would like to put their effort towards for a drug abuse prevention program at the community level: children, adolescents, or young adults. Several of the speakers that discussed drug abuse and prevention programs with the Commission stated that there is a gap in drug prevention for young adults between the ages of 18 years old and 36 years old. Second, the Commission should select the settings that the population frequents. Many of those in that age group attend community and private colleges and trade schools and youth-based organizations. The Commission may want to work with the colleges, the trade schools, and the faith-based organizations to increase young adults' awareness of substance abuse of prescribed and non-prescribed drugs. Third, the Commission heard from several of the speakers that methamphetamines is the drug of choice in the Antelope Valley based on availability and cost, and that prescribed medications are becoming a bigger problem for those recovering from drug abuse and mental illness. Several of the speakers involved in the drug treatment and medical health industries are beginning to find more drug abuse of prescribed drugs for emotional problems such as depression and etc. My suggestion is that the Commission be given the opportunity to read the booklet and pursue the website, as the information on the website is extensive, based on research, and very educational. The webpage may provide the Commission the tools to proceed with implementing a drug prevention program for youth adults in the city of Lancaster. That concludes my presentation.
I agree.
Good job, Elizabeth.
Well, we have one speaker card. It might be a little out of order on the next part of the presentation, which is our general discussions. So given that it will be general discussions, I guess we should hear from Mr. Paul first. So maybe he has something that we can discuss in further detail in addition to what Ms. Brubaker just shared with us.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, good afternoon. That was very interesting. You know, I feel a little like Steve Carell up here. I just want to scream, words! You know, and believe me, I mean, Ms. Brubaker knows that none of this is a critique of her presentation. She's just showing you what's there, but it's just all the same old stuff. You know, I was a little disappointed at the Architectural Design Commission because they had Kensington come in and talk about the design of the place, and that was something that I really felt great about because it gives hope that we're going to conquer this problem. And then part of the funding is going to come from Section 8, which has its entire ball of problems. You know, the fact that you have to take people that have vouchers already, so you're not going to take homeless. It takes years. And the federal government is changing. They're cutting all this stuff out. Trump is trying to take all this stuff away. So, you know, we are back in this position where it's upon us, you know. And as I hear this stuff, it's just, it reminds me so much of meetings that I've been to where we talk about the plan, right, and whipping it up and everybody doing this. But there's no resources and there's no real consensus on what the problem actually is. You know, I think the problem has somewhat to do with the state of our country right now. We have the President of the United States attacking agencies and law enforcement and rule of law, and it's very difficult to get past that. That has a profound effect. So, I mean, any of the community things that stimulate, like the nights, the boulevard and stuff, I mean, these are great things that at least give people a little hope, and I don't envy you your responsibility. You have to make something out of nothing, and we'll keep trying, but you know, some of these things that create the camaraderie in the community that are required to avoid drugs often lead to using them in those situations. And I mean, I don't know how you tell people when you have booze at a party that they shouldn't use drugs, because you just don't, it's complex. And I'm sorry I don't have anything. I'm not totally disappointed. I'm somewhat hopeful that you all can do something, but we have less money and less time, and I want to see something magical happen, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. We received a second speaker card from Sarah May. Come on down.
Good evening. So I'm Sarah May. I'm from Tarzana Treatment Centers, and we're part of a county-funded grant for substance abuse prevention and control for youth ages 12 to 18 years old. So we do a lot of prevention out in the community that focuses on that population. And we actually just finished conducting a community-wide methamphetamines needs assessment. And so right now we're in the process of presenting our findings to community partners. And so we do have that information, and I just want to let you know that we are here to be a partner with you guys, and if you have any questions, we can help you with that as well.
Would you be available to make that presentation to us next month?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is that okay? Can we bring it back to get the update on their assessment? Okay.
Okay,
Well,
great.
You're invited.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
As a adolescent that remembers when the First Lady said, "Don't do it. Just say no." Sorry, I butchered that one, huh? Just say no. Or the DARE program. Did either of those two work for me in the 80s? They didn't. It wasn't something profound that I don't need to get into necessarily caused my path. So I think I agree with almost everything Ms. Brubaker said, that it's not a slogan or a catchphrase. I mean, something happened to me that was incredibly scary. I don't know. Maybe that's a good and bad thing, but it kept me away from it, right? And I think to her point, Ms. Brubaker's point, with respect to the audience, we heard a lot about what the schools are doing, and then how it's affecting the middle-aged adults and so on. But I think this demographic, the young college age to working, college graduates, middle 20s, 18 to middle 20s, I think is probably, if we're going to try to affect change in a group, that's probably one that this community is not getting any help with, and probably the one that's causing the problems that we're seeing on our neighborhoods and streets and things. So I don't know. Those are a couple of my comments.
I agree. I think the 18 and above is the target population that we should be looking at. I think the schools do have programs, and we would want to support those programs as well, because experimenting in school turns to abuse when you're facing challenges as an adult. So I think working with the colleges, ABC, and the other colleges and starting some type of program would be an excellent start in the community.
I guess that's a group we didn't hear from ABC or UAV or some of the other maybe trade schools or our Cal State Bakersfield program, and what if anything they have on their campuses that we might be able to partner with. So maybe we should reach out to them to have them come. Maybe it'd be good to have them hear the needs assessment from Tarzana to see if maybe we can get somebody from the college, ABC, maybe the UAV, to come out and kind of discuss how they're approaching these problems or potential problems on their campuses. Because there's a captive audience. I mean, you don't ever want to show up as a musician into a room of nobody, because it's really hard to express your music. So you don't want to show up to tell somebody what to do or not to do, or educate them, I should say, when nobody's there. So I don't know. I don't know who to talk to at those places, but I suspect there's somebody. Commissioner Wiley, what do you know?
Well, I am at ABC, and I would think one of the partners that we might want to get is the sheriffs. We do have the sheriffs there that's locally. And I would think that our, what do you call it? There's I can't think of her name, but she does the,
Dr. Zimmerman?
well, she's one, but we keep statistics on all the actions and activities and crimes, and so I would say the sheriffs could probably give us an update, and then public affairs would have another insight on it, as well as our what is it? I can't think of it. I know the person, Gary Rogenstein, discipline.
Sure.
And so, and I don't know how holistic that is, what we get, but I think it would be very important that we do have them. I also see that maybe after hearing the prevention part, I was before you with the DARE and the drugs. I always go back when I was in elementary school, they showed me a film on smoking cigarettes and having a guy's lung cut out. And I fainted. And I said, I don't need to smoke. And I think what we have is, I don't think people know the other side. If I'm going to go to college and get a degree, it's okay to, drink beer. That's what we publicize. You go to college, you go to a frat party, you get drunk, and then you have these incidents where, somebody dies or whatever like this. But I don't think they ever show the other side, that if, there's an ugly side to drinking, as well as there's that happy-go-lucky, Corona. So we need to, I think we need to maybe pull that and let the young kids see that at an early age, that you can go on the right hand and you go to the left hand, so they can make an informed choice. And I don't think we give them a good opportunity to make that informed choice. Kind of like what you had. I mean, if that kept you away, God bless you. And it's like that cigarette. I mean, they physically cut him open, and then I was through.
Cured.
And I was in the days where kids smoked Pale Mel. They didn't have no filters, or they'd pick cigarettes. If you lift the butt out the window, there were guys that go get that, burning cigarette and still smoke it. So I can, I'll can check with Dr. Zimmerman, and I'll find out, and I can get us something back.
I'm not sure that maybe we should be overly concerned about the incidences that occur at the college, but more so what programs or things.
What preventative programs they have in place.
She's in charge of that, I think. And so
Dr. Zimmerman?
Okay.
Okay. I mean, we know there's a problem.
Right.
Now the point is how do we start a community-based, successful prevention program to either get them from even starting or get them from getting off of it. And I think that's where we're at now, because the drug abuse, whether it's the starter or the ender, is the one that's involved in the homelessness, it's involved in the mental illness, it's involved in crime. It's the bottom line of everything. So we need to think more about what we can do to prevent, because we're already engaged.
Right. No, I agree. It's where do we find the captive audience who's the most likely candidate to be the one who will next cause all those problems that Elizabeth just shared. I think that's what we're faced with. And when like her presentation showed, we're not the only ones who are trying to solve this. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't make an attempt.
I would say look on the internet at the National Institute on Drug Abuse. It is probably, I found it, it's probably the most educational largest website with the most information that I have ever come across regarding drug abuse, drug prevention, drug addiction for prescribed and non-prescribed. And when you go there, I think you'll have a lot of great ideas, and I think that there's information there that you can use to continue without even maybe investing a lot of money. We already know we have a motivated community. We already have heard what the issue is. We've already just selected our audience and where we want to be. So if we delve into that website, I think everybody will be able to come up with some great ideas and some direction on moving forward. It's really an interesting website. It's profound.
Wow.
I think that's a fabulous idea because we've heard from our speakers that up to age 17, there's not a problem in our community.
Not much of one, at
That
least.
well,
yeah.
yeah. And then it's really the dividing line is that 18 and up. And the focusing on the age of 18 and up in the colleges, in the trade school programs, that gives us an opportunity not only to serve our community, but we all know our young people don't necessarily stay here. If we help sow the seeds of good, strong understanding of drugs and methamphetamine and give them that good pillar, they're going to sow the seeds elsewhere, wherever they go in life. So I think that's wonderful. And NIDA, I have not personally explored that site yet, but what a brilliant idea. And the packet of information, I love that. And I really think homework for each of the commissioners is definitely called for. And I really believe with the report that we'll be hearing from Dr. Tarzana, we'll have a really powerful, dynamic, focused discussion at our next meeting.
I mean, and besides that kind of demographic, the college age, I think the amount of abuse that we see coming through our emergency departments at both hospitals is tremendous. So, I mean, I still, in the back of my mind, whatever we do, I want to try to marry some idea that can be implemented, some program, something in the hospitals as well. I should have pegged Dr. Stock a little more when he was here from the emergency department, because they have a program called the Dan Payne Pain Management Program. Dan Payne is a mid-level provider in the emergency department at AB Hospital, and he came up with a program that they follow to make sure that when they have these repeat frequent flyers, we'll call them, that are there seeking the narcotic pain medications, they have a way to make sure that they're not giving double prescriptions, and they're not, and they follow it, and they do a really good job, and they have seen it. That has worked. So, anyways, I think that, that problem is huge too. So, but I think, we should work. I'm intrigued by just a little bit of information that came off of this site. But I think if we can hear from the college, figure out a way to maybe scare them.
Well, I think that, and I've just glanced through it as well, so I'm excited to go on the website. But, I mean, it's scaring is always a good tactic, but there's usually an underlying family or a traumatic event that leads to drug abuse or addiction. And I'm really impressed that there's a whole section in here on the protective factors, and which we use throughout all of our programs. So that's already interwoven into this document about the risks and like kind of repairing with evidence-based programs intertwined. So it's impressive.
I don't think we have to do just one thing. We could work with Dr. Stock on what they do, and then work with the DA on the program they want to enhance. He's going out and still talking to the people in the court, because again, that's the 18 to 35. They're not in school anymore. So we'd capture our group at the hospital, the court system, and then at the colleges and the trade schools. So we would start getting that one age group from different venues.
Yeah, because I think one comment I was going to make is that probably a large majority of those students that are getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get over to ABC to catch their first class at 8 are probably not the demographic that's going to be abusing drugs at some point. Maybe some of them are, and if we can affect change in a dozen of them, it's worth it. But if we just focus on the college, I think we'd have our blinders on, because we're missing something. Because I mean, I'm an ABC grad myself, so don't get me wrong, there were some students that were there when I was there that were there because they're folks who were giving them money, so they had to be there. But there are people there that want to succeed, and so they're probably not the ones that we're going after. But there are definitely some that we can probably provide.
That's the good prevention piece.
Correct.
I don't know, have we heard from any of the first-time offender programs through the courthouse, their diversion programs, to see what they have in place? Because a lot of the kids in this risk group are going to start to come into contact with the police. And so what are they doing as far as I know that there's a diversion program in place, but I don't know much about what they're doing with these young people who are maybe first or second time drug offenders coming in through the court system.
Yeah,
we heard from the district attorney, who, correct me if I'm wrong, with the proposition change, they're coming in and they'd rather do their 90 days and not do the diversion, not do the drug treatment, and get out.
Right.
So that's the issue right now that everybody in California is facing, is that the simple route is do your time, get out, and go back and do drugs. So they do have a program, but again, I think it was limited funds, limited participation, but they're really fighting for it, where they have to seek treatment in order to reduce their sentence and be successful at their treatment in order to do that. And he's looking to go to the other courts to see if we can amp it up.
And again, I want to, and I probably sound like a broken record on this all the time, but I want to make sure that we do have to target the college, because it's also the students that are antidepressants and mental health prescriptions, that when they run out of those or things like that, then they escalate it to street drugs. So we do want to make sure we're working in the mental health arena along with the prevention and education and reducing this
When I
problem.
called the superintendents to attend the meeting, the superintendents for kindergarten through 8th grade said that drugs was not the problem, but that mental illness was a growing problem.
Sure.
And with mental illness, a lot of doctors treat that with drugs. Once they get on drugs at that point, it may not be the right drug because they may not be diagnosed correctly. And then they start going down the path and they flip from drug to drug to drug, but it's prescribed. It's supposed to make them better, but it doesn't make them better because there's no consistent counseling. It may be because their home life is not adequate. It could be a combination of biological and social and home. So this is a growing issue that we will deal with in our lifetime, and it's going to be coming around the corner fast.
Well, it's scary. It's scary how quick it appears. My phone thought I said Siri. It's scary how quick I feel like some providers are to prescribe medications. So my 5-year-old had her tonsils out last month, and we got the prescription sent directly to the pharmacy. We went and picked him up the night before, put him in the bag, went down and had the procedure, 7 o'clock in the morning, brought her home. We were home by 10, opened up the bag full of stuff. And for a 5-year-old, she had enough pain medications to tranquilize a horse. And I couldn't believe what they gave. And besides one dose of Tylenol with codeine, the rest of the stuff we didn't even touch. So, I mean, it's just amazing to me, and that's just only a small example. But what Michelle has spoken about over and over again is, the depression, and, when you start to get to that age of 18 or so, you're starting to get on your own. You gotta handle life a little differently. And I think we can all agree that age group, what do they call them, millennials or whatever the next one is, they're probably not as able to land on 2 feet. So then they start to deal with, self-prescribing or these medications, because the pharmaceutical companies have made them to fix them, and they're quick to get them, and they're also quick to run out. That's when the problem comes in, and I've seen it time and time again. So I think that point's probably a lot better for the colleges.
Yeah, and I mean, it's that instant gratification that they just want to fix the problem, not work on. So it's that.
And I would echo your sentiment. Being at the college, my program is CalWorks, and what I've seen is I got a lot of homelessness, domestic violence, and then the mental health. And they seem to generate the drug problem. I've had a number of student workers that's been in my program that I gave them a job, and I go into the office or go where they're working, they're nodding out. And I say, "Are you okay?" And first, you miss that. Okay, maybe you just tired, you was up late last night studying, but come to find out they actually were on medication, prescribed drugs, and you talk with them, but we do have a mental health individual there that helps both with the domestic violence as well as the mental health part. But I think that's where that problem stems from, as Ms. Brubaker mentioned. It comes, and I need to satisfy my issue, and it becomes a drug, whatever the choice is, be it alcohol, be it marijuana or whatever. But I'm seeing it. I see it in small doses, but that's just the part that I see. I'm sure it's throughout the campus there.
Okay, well, let's invite the college. Let's see if we can get a couple people from ABC, and I don't know, we could reach out to UAV as well. See, if we can get someone from their counseling department or somebody as well. It might even be worth a shot to consider. I know that, some of the charter school programs, they'll tend to graduate students that are older, 18 to 21, to get through their programs. It might be interesting to hear what they're seeing, from what I know, what they're doing through their programs. They might have a good demographic to include as well.
Or what about the adult school? Any night GED programs,
right.
anything like that might be going on in the adult schools?
Yeah. Well, good. I think that's a good direction. If I think the kids, elementary school, junior high, maybe even high school, they're covered. They've got their programs. They're going to their assemblies and their rallies, and they're being educated. They're motivational speakers, and generally that's they've got their red ribbon week, at school, and and I know my kids come home and they're always excited about it. I'm not sure they know why, but they are. So I think that if we're going to try to do something in the community, let's go after that age group. So. And I didn't wear my tie today. I thought we were going to talk about ties.
Oh, we still have that to
do. Do we?
We're going our
I was
commission.
kidding, by the way.
No. Our commission and the Criminal Justice Commission are going to be given the ordinance to review and comment on.
Oh, brother. Okay. Does any commissioners have any comments?
Actually, I do have a comment. Right? Okay, good. And this is 3 minutes or less. Okay.
Set the timer. I'm just kidding.
No, don't set the timer. But this is 3 minutes or less out of respect for busy people and not a whole lot of time. So I'd like to sort of jump ahead from the heat of summer into the fall and actually into November, when we are going to be having to go to the polls and we are going to have to vote. One of the items that we're going to be asked upon to vote in the November election is Proposition 8. So with that introduction, I'm a registered nurse and I work in the dialysis setting. And with my comments today, I hope to promote health awareness and voter education about Proposition 8 that is on the November ballot. Proposition 8 is about a very vulnerable patient population, those who need dialysis. Proposition 8 proposes an addition to the Health and Safety Code. Now, if passed, Proposition 8 will cap how much dialysis clinics can be reimbursed by insurance, but not in a good way. According to the Berkeley Research Group, the allowable costs will only account for about 69% of the average clinic's total operating costs. Thus, Proposition 8 would force the overwhelming majority of dialysis clinics, about 83%, to operate at a loss. Now, this is important to Lancaster because we have dialysis clinics within the city, such as the Antelope Valley Kidney Institute, Fresenius Kidney Care Antelope Valley, and DaVita Antelope Valley Dialysis. This is also important due to the increasing prevalence of kidney failure in California, and the number of people needing dialysis is increasing at about 5% a year. Proposition 8 narrowly defines what insurance companies are required to reimburse and excludes reimbursement for critical staff and services necessary to provide high-quality care, such as staff to help patients navigate insurance and community-based kidney disease education. Now, data suggests that the current system is working well, so Proposition 8 likely will not add more. California dialysis clinics are highly regulated by state and federal regulators that provide quality reports on every facility. Clinics are regularly inspected and evaluated based on 376 indicators. According to the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, California dialysis clinics outperform other states in clinical quality and patient satisfaction. So if it ain't broken, why fix it? And so my ask for each of us is that we help protect dialysis patients. Educate yourself, review the information in the handout that's being passed around and that's available from Ms. Brubaker. Share this information with others via email, text, social media, etc. Understand that Proposition 8 is not good for dialysis patients. Most importantly, vote in November. Vote no on Proposition 8. That's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Wow.
Little different, little curve, but
No
still,
curve at all.
Still focused.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the education. I hadn't got that far ahead into November yet, but
I know,
this is
but
incredible.
it's around the corner.
I know, it is. Well, thank you. Thank you. Any other commissioner comments this evening? No? How's the grandbaby?
Oh, he's perfect. He's absolutely perfect.
Good. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Perfect. Okay, you guys, we'll see you next month, September 4th, Tuesday at 5 p.m. here. We're adjourned, 5:54.